Hi, I'm Skip Nipper. Welcome to Skip's Corner, the podcast where I tell you about not only Nashville's great baseball history and traditions,
shot to right, a one-hop liner,
but certainly about its past. And you will hear a little bit about its present and future, too.
Yes, he can. It makes the waist-high catch.
There are great stories about Tom Wilson Park, Herschel Greer Stadium, Sulphur Dell, and the players, coaches, and fans who love everything about baseball. And every once in a while, you will get to hear from a special guest who will share their fondness and even passion for the great game.
The high fly ball down the right field corner, going way back, hits a lead-off home run.
I want to tell you about a great baseball player who came out of the ranks of the Nashville Interscholastic League and made his way to the major leagues for 9 seasons and had about as much talent as anyone who ever came out of Nashville. That player was Bobby Tillman, signed out of Middle Tennessee State College by Red Sox scout George Digby in 1958. Tillman had done it all in the high school ranks, and after signing with Boston, Raymond Johnson, in his One Man's Opinion Nashville Tennessean column, wrote, "Bobby Tillman is probably the best all-around athlete to come out of Nashville in the last quarter of a century." Even Digby was high on Tillman's potential, saying he was the finest catching prospect the Red Sox have obtained since Haywood Sullivan, the University of Florida athlete who joined them in 1951. Tillman started Isaac Litton, playing not only baseball, but basketball and football for the Lions. He was an all-state quarterback his senior year in 1955, an all-region and 2-time NIL MVP in baseball in 1955 and 1956. He played City League ball, too, for Patterson Motors League champions, hitting .337 with 2 home runs, 2 triples, 4 doubles, and 17 RBIs. And he signed a basketball scholarship with Georgia Tech before transferring to Middle Tennessee to play football before signing with Boston. Now, Tillman spent 4 years in the minor leagues before moving up to the Red Sox in 1962, where he earned a place in baseball history with his first official major league at-bat, which left the yard in a 6-5 Red Sox loss to the Los Angeles Angels on May the 19th, 1962 at Fenway Park. But he was behind the plate for 2 no-hitters, Earl Wilson's in 1962 and Dave Moorhead's in 1965. The latter no-hitter provided one of the few high spots in an otherwise dismal seasons. You see, the Red Sox lost 100 games and finished 9th of 10 clubs. And that also marked the last time Tillman appeared in more than 100 games in a season. John Robert Bob Tillman was born in Nashville on March the 24th, 1937, to Joseph Earl and Ruth Elizabeth Tillman, and he graduated from Isaac Litton High School. And after signing his pro contract, he began his professional career with Raleigh in the Class B Carolina League and was named to the All-Star team as the starting catcher that first year in pro ball. Now, one of his teammates at Raleigh was Tracy Stallard, most remembered for later giving up New York Yankees slugger Roger Maris's 61st home run in 1961. Tillman progressed to Allentown in the Single-A Eastern League in 1959, where he was again named a starter for the All-Star team, and in 1960 moved to the Triple-A American Association, where his Minneapolis Millers team included future Major League teammates Carl Yastrzemski, Dick Raditz, and Earl Wilson. And Tillman's performance in Minneapolis included a 2-home run, 4 RBI game in July. The following year, with the arrival of the Major League Twins in Minneapolis, the Red Sox AAA franchise moved to Seattle in the Pacific Coast League. And with the Seattle Rainiers, Bob played for manager Johnny Pesky, with whom he would be reunited in 1963 when Pesky took over as manager in Boston. Pesky and the Red Sox were impressed with his power numbers. In his 4 years of minor league ball, Tillman had slugged home run totals of 18, 25, 24, and 14. In 1962, Tillman stuck with the big club out of spring training with two other catchers, Russ Nixon and Jim Pagliarone, on the roster, and Tillman appeared in just over half of the games. His first action came on April the 15th when he worked a pinch hit walk off Steve Barber at Baltimore's Memorial Stadium, and he then sat on the bench until May the 16th when he played a single defensive inning at Fenway Park against the Yankees. And 3 days later, Tillman got his first start when he was remarkably installed as the cleanup hitter against the Angels' Ted Bousfield. And after drawing a walk in the second inning, he hit a solo home run in the fourth. It was his first official major league at bat. And this helped get him the bulk of the catcher's duties for the next 6 weeks. Tillman ended the year with 14 home runs, but he batted only .229 and later admitted in a radio interview that as a rookie, he couldn't hit a curveball with an oar. And since Tillman knew it, so did the Red Sox, who sent him to the Florida Instructional League over the winter to overcome, in the words of general manager Mike Higgins, a tendency to swing at many curveballs that are not in the strike zone. The 1963 season saw increased action for Tillman, whose new major league skipper, Johnny Pesky, was familiar with Tillman and liked what he saw. And when asked about Tillman's tribulations with the curveball, Pesky said many hitters had trouble with it, including him, and that Tillman would learn to hit it. And not all observers were convinced, and longtime Boston sports writer Larry Claflin observed, the curveball is to Tillman what television is to movie theaters. Now, as an aside to that, I once sat in sluggers high above home plate at Greer Stadium, up against the glass with my dad, Virgil Nipper, his brother Walter, and former Yankees and Reds pitching coach Jim Turner, who had also been Nashville Vols manager for one season. It was during a Nashville Express Barons game with Michael Jordan playing for Birmingham. And Mr. Turner said Jordan would never make it in the majors because the NBA star couldn't hit a curveball, and you can't teach anyone to hit a curveball. Now back to Tillman, who couldn't hit a curveball. Nevertheless, over the winter, it appeared that Tillman would be named the number one catcher in 1963, with Pesky showing loyalty to a player he compared to Bill Dickey. Now, Tillman returned the favor by getting in early workouts with Bill Monbouquet at an indoor facility at Tufts University before reporting to spring training in Scottsdale, Arizona. While off-season conditioning is taken for granted now, in 1963 it was quite unusual and was considered an encouraging sign by Pesky. But unfortunately, despite the high hopes of the winter, 1963 was not a good year for Tillman at the plate, hitting .225 with only 8 home runs and 32 RBIs in 96 games. But Pesky did not lose faith in his catcher, installing him as the starter in 1964. And Tillman responded with what would turn out to be his best year offensively. He hit .278 with 17 home runs and 61 RBIs in 131 games. His 17 home runs were a Red Sox record for a catcher until Carlton Fisk hit 22 in 1972. Pesky was fired before the end of the 64 season, and Billy Herman replaced him for the rest of 64 and into 66, when Herman was in turn replaced by interim manager Pete Ronalds for the last 16 games of the season. And with Pesky gone went much of Tillman's playing time, which dropped to 111 games in 1965, and he hit .215 with 6 home runs and 35 RBIs. For the third consecutive season, he was the team's opening day starter, but his continued struggles with the bat caused Herman to give a great deal of playing time to Mike Ryan and Russ Nixon, but neither of them hit that well either. Tillman was behind the plate and was 0 for 3 at bat for Dave Moorhead's no-hitter in September of 1965, witnessed by a reported crowd of 1,247 perhaps not surprising for a team that lost 100 games. And in 1966, Tillman played in 78 games as Ryan's backup, hitting .230 with 3 homers and 24 RBIs, while the Red Sox again finished deep in the American League standings, just a half game ahead of the last place Yankees in the 10-team league. And then came 1967, which saw former teammate Dick Williams take the helm in the spring and put Tillman in his doghouse. Tillman's spot appeared to be set in stone on May the 12th when, in an effort to cut down Al Kaline on a steal attempt, Tillman's throw to second hit relief pitcher John Wyatt in the head. And after the ball struck Wyatt, it caromed to the on-deck circle, allowing Kaline to take third. And Kaline then scored what proved to be the winning run on a sacrifice fly by Willie Horton. It was the first run allowed by Wyatt that year. And in Williams' doghouse, Tillman was sold to the Yankees on August the 8th, 1967, after the Red Sox had traded Pete McGreeny and Ron Klimkowski to the Yankees in return for Elston Howard 5 days earlier. And Tillman, when he reported to the Yankees, said, "All I ask is a chance to play a little and prove myself. I've been to bat only 64 times all season, and no one can prove anything in that time. I proved I could hit when I batted .278 in 1964 as the regular catcher in Boston." And backing up his words, Tillman started 4 games in his first week as a Yankee and had 7 hits in 17 at-bats, driving in 6 runs in one game with a homer, a single, and a sacrifice fly. All told, Tillman appeared in 22 games as a Yankee, garnering almost as many at-bats in August and September as he had in the first 100 games of the season, and hitting almost 70 points higher, .254 to .188. And Tillman's performance impressed manager Ralph Houck, who said in September that Tillman fit right in with his club, only to see Lee McPhail send Tillman and Dale Roberts, a rookie pitcher, to Atlanta in December in exchange for future manager Bobby Cox. In 1968, Tillman again played a backup role, this time to another future skipper, Joe Torre. And the change of league unfortunately did not improve Tillman's performance, as he hit only .220 with 5 home runs and 20 RBIs. He did achieve one career milestone, however, getting his first and only major league stolen base. In the offseason, the Braves traded Torre to St. Louis for Orlando Cepeda, and Tillman got his 4th opening day assignment, but he soon settled into a role as the backup to rookie Bob Didier, playing 69 games. The Braves won the National League West that season, and Tillman saw his only postseason action, a single defensive inning in the final game of the Braves' 3-game sweep at the hands of the Mets. In 1970, Tillman's last year in professional ball, he shared the catching duties with Hal King and Didier, appearing in 71 games, batting .238, with 11 homers and 30 RBIs. In December, Tillman was traded to the Milwaukee Brewers in exchange for Hank Allen, brother of Dick and Ron Allen, Paul Click, and John Ryan, the latter 2 of whom never made it to the major leagues. And after the trade, Brewers manager Dave Bristol was quoted as saying that he expected Bob Tillman to play in 1971. But there was a front office shakeup in Milwaukee, and new general manager Frank Lane promptly placed Tillman on waivers and traded outfielder Carl Taylor, both of whom had just been acquired by his predecessor, Marvin Milks. Well, no team selected him off waivers, and so Bob Tillman's 775-game major league career was over. He returned to his native Tennessee, where he lived with his wife, Dolores, a Boston area native he met in 1962 and married in 1963, and his 2 sons, Joel and John. And after a stint with a soft side luggage company, Bob worked for a food broker and food distributor until he retired on April the 1st, 1998. And his retirement was short-lived, sadly, as Bob Tillman passed away at the age of 63. But one final thing about the remarkable career of Bobby Tillman. Remember when I said he hit a solo home run on May 19th, 1962, at Fenway Park in the fourth inning against the Angels in his first official at bat? Well, on opening day, April 21st, at Wilson, North Carolina in 1958, 4 years earlier, the 6'3", 190-pounder hit the first pitch he saw as a pro and blasted it over a 380 feet fence for a home run. His first homer in the minors matched his first homer in the majors, both in his first at bat. And I'm not sure that's happened too many times. He told Nashville, Tennessean sports writer Jimmy Digby over the phone what he thought of his feat after his first home run in Raleigh. "That was the biggest thrill of my life," he said. "It was a letter-high fastball, and it felt real good when I got around on it. I tell you, I ran around the bases on a cloud." And Tillman added, "This baseball life is great. You just can't beat the hours except for those long bus rides at night. Riding the bus 180 miles round trip at night is exhausting, but I can't complain. I'm having a fine time." His brother Larry was also an outstanding athlete, and his brother Jamie also joined him in the professional ranks. And Bobby Tillman, one of the greatest athletes to come out of Nashville, who had a fine time in pro baseball and gave great joy to those in his hometown who followed his career along the way, also had a fine time watching. And may he always rest in peace. And that's the story of Bobby Tillman.